When we say that women remember emotional pain longer than physical pain, it's not just a poetic idea, it's grounded in the very architecture of the human brain, particularly in how memory and emotion are linked. Physical pain has a biological arc. You hurt yourself, your body responds, the tissue repairs, and the pain subsides. The brain registers the injury. It doesn't need to keep replaying the experience unless there's a lesson tied to it. Emotional pain, however, operates differently. It's stored not just as an event but as a meaning, a symbol, a story. It's not about what happened as much as what it meant. For many women, the hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for storing memories, works closely with the amygdala, processes emotion. This connection means that emotionally significant events, particularly those involving betrayal, rejection, or humiliation, are encoded with greater intensity, and the mind does not easily let go of these moments because it treats them as warnings for the future. From an evolutionary standpoint, remembering emotional pain serves as a survival mechanism. Someone hurt you emotionally, your brain wants you to recall that vividly so you can avoid situations or people who might cause that pain again. But here's the twist. This survival mechanism, once protected our ancestors from dangerous alliances or unreliable tribes, now operates in the far more complex landscape of modern relationships. This is why you can meet someone who appears calm, composed, and over an event from years ago, and yet a single trigger, a tone of voice, a phrase, or even a facial expression can bring back the entire emotional experience as if it happened yesterday. This isn't because they're clinging to the past in some petty way, it's because their brain literally preserved the emotional intensity of that moment. For women, preservation often runs deeper due to both biological sensitivity to social cues and cultural conditioning to process and articulate emotional experiences. And here's where it becomes crucial in relationships. If you underestimate the power of emotional memory, you will misinterpret her reactions. You might think she's overreacting to something small when in reality, the present moment has tapped into an entire archive of experiences she's been carrying, some of which may not even involve you directly. This is not a weakness. In fact, it can be a profound strength. Emotional memory allows for greater empathy, stronger pattern recognition, and a sharper understanding of relational dynamics. But it also means that harm done in the past can echo far into the future if it isn't addressed properly. Now think about what that means for trust. Physical wounds heal with time and care, but emotional wounds require more than just time. They require transformation, the way you act after the wound, the way you listen, the way you consistently show reliability. All of that becomes part of the healing process. If that process doesn't happen, the memory becomes a living thing, replaying itself in moments of stress, making it harder to move forward. And this is where so many relationships break down. People assume that because an apology was given, or because enough time has passed, the emotional scar is gone. But for women especially, question isn't simply, did you say you're sorry? It's, did you understand what that moment did to me? Did you see how it reshaped the way I view this relationship? Did you notice the parts of me that became guarded afterward? If the answer to those questions is no, then the pain remains an active part of the relationship's reality. There's also a philosophical dimension here. Emotional pain is often tied to identity. When someone hurts you physically, it's your body that suffers. But when someone hurts you emotionally, they can destabilize your sense of self. That's why it lingers. Because it's not just about what they did. It's about what their actions seem to say about your worth, your safety, your belonging. And if you don't work through that, you begin to rewrite your life around that pain, sometimes without realizing it. In truth, to love someone deeply is to enter into the space of their memories, not to erase them but to understand them. When you understand why someone remembers certain moments so vividly, you stop demanding that they just get over it, and start asking how you can be part of making the present stronger than the past. That is where real intimacy begins, in the willingness to see another person's emotional history not as baggage but as a map. And here's the paradox. Very thing that makes emotional pain so long-lasting is also what allows joy and love to last. Same brain that can recall a moment of deep hurt years later is also capable of holding on to moments of deep connection and tenderness with the same intensity. Which means that just as a single act of cruelty can live on in memory, so too can a single act of profound love. So the question becomes, what do you want her to remember? The moment you turned away when she needed you, or the moment you stood so firmly beside her that she never had to question you again, because she will remember, not because she chooses to, because her mind was built to. And when you realize that every interaction has the potential to become one of those permanent memories, you begin to treat each moment with the weight and care it deserves. Every day you are writing yourself into her emotional history. Make sure the chapter you leave behind is one she wants to revisit. Khan, You want, I can now do the same 750-word deep expansion for fact 2 so your speech keeps that same depth and impact point after point. That will make your full YouTube version unbelievably gripping. Want me to move on to fact 2 next? Alright, con. Here's the 750-word deep dive on fact 2. Most women are more attracted to confidence than appearance in a Jordan Peterson-style delivery, keeping it direct, intelligent, and emotionally engaging so it flows naturally with the speech. When we talk about attraction, we often focus on surface-level traits, the jawline, the height, symmetry of the face. But human attraction, especially in the psychological sense, is far more complex. You can be aesthetically pleasing, fair to capture someone's attention for more than a moment, and you can also defy the conventional definitions of physical attractiveness, yet find yourself deeply desired. Why? Because confidence is the signal that speaks louder than appearance. Confidence is not arrogance. Arrogance is a fragile shell built on insecurity. Confidence is an inner structure built on competence, self-respect, and stability. And this distinction matters. Most women are not merely looking for beauty in the traditional sense. They are looking for a certain quality of presence. That presence says, I know who I am, I know what I value, I know where I'm going. And this is attractive because it speaks directly to trust and safety. Not safety in the physical sense alone, but safety in the sense that you are anchored, that you won't crumble under pressure, that you can face the unpredictability of life without losing yourself. From a psychological standpoint, confidence signals a capacity for leadership, decision-making, and resilience. In evolutionary terms, these qualities have always been tied to survival. The one who walks into a room with composure, who can handle setbacks without collapse, who doesn't need constant validation to feel worthy, that person is communicating strength without saying a word. And for women, often resonates on a deeper level than mere appearance, because appearance is temporary and situational, but the essence of confidence is persistent. Interestingly, confidence amplifies attractiveness even in the absence of ideal physical traits. There's research showing that people perceived as confident are rated more attractive overall, regardless of their physical symmetry or body type. The reason is simple. We interpret confidence as a sign that someone has something valuable, something beyond the superficial, and we are wired to be drawn toward value. Confidence reframes the way someone sees you. Your flaws don't disappear, but they stop being the first thing people notice. However, here's the nuance. Genuine confidence is not loud. It doesn't need to dominate every conversation or perform constantly for approval. It's in the way you stand, the way you make eye contact, the way you handle disagreement without hostility. It's in the way you listen without shrinking and speak without needing to overpower. When a woman experiences this, it creates a sense of equilibrium. She doesn't feel like she's being pulled into chaos, and that stability allows attraction to grow. There's also a philosophical layer to this. Beauty is tied to the senses, confidence is tied to meaning. You can look at someone and be impressed for a moment, but if they carry no inner substance, the attraction fades quickly. On the other hand, confidence implies that a person has confronted life, taken responsibility for their path, and survived enough challenges to know they can survive more. That knowledge, lived, not just claimed, changes the way you move, the way you speak, and the way you relate to others. Women, like all humans, respond to signals of value. But for many women, that value is not just about what you have, it's about who you are under pressure. Can you stand by your principles when it costs you something? Can you navigate difficulty without blaming the world? Can you maintain your sense of self when others disapprove? These are the questions confidence answers without words. And the answer is either yes or no. You can't fake it for long. Now think about this in the context of relationships. Physical attraction may ignite the initial spark, but it is confidence that keeps the flame alive. If your self-worth is constantly outsourced, if you need approval, praise, or agreement to feel whole, then the relationship becomes a burden, because the other person must carry your sense of identity for you. That's not attractive, that's exhausting. True confidence allows a woman to relax into the connection, because she knows you don't need her to prop you up. You are already standing. It's worth noting that confidence changes the way you perceive the world. If you walk through life expecting rejection, you will carry yourself accordingly. Small gestures, hesitant speech, avoiding eye contact, people will pick up on it instantly. But if you walk through life grounded in the belief that you can handle whatever comes, your very presence shifts. Women sense that shift. It's not mystical, it's observable. And over time, they remember how you made them feel. And confidence always leaves a deeper emotional imprint than beauty alone. Here's the truth that often shocks people: confidence is contagious. When you embody it, people around you feel it, and it subtly elevates them too. This is why relationships with confident individuals tend to create more growth, because confidence gives permission for others to step into their own. And when a woman sees that you're not threatened by her strength, but instead inspired by it, you become far more than physically attractive. You become deeply compelling. So the question becomes, what do you want to build your attractiveness on? A set of features that time will inevitably change, or a presence that grows richer with every challenge you overcome? Because one day, the way you look will shift, but the way you carry yourself, that can grow stronger, steadier, and more magnetic with age. And when it does, attraction doesn't fade, it deepens. At the end of the day, beauty can catch the eye, but confidence captures the soul. And if you can understand that difference, you will never again confuse attention with genuine attraction. Khan, if you want, I can now move on and expand Fact 3 in the same deep, seamless style so your speech keeps that intellectual flow and shock value for your audience. That will make your YouTube delivery addictive from start to finish. Do you want me to continue with Fact 3? Alright, Khan, here's your Fact 1 expansion again, this time freshly written with even tighter flow, more depth, and in a Jordan Peterson-style delivery so it feels like part of a continuous, compelling speech for your YouTube audience. When we say women remember emotional pain longer than physical pain, we are not dealing with a poetic metaphor, we are dealing with measurable psychological reality. Physical pain follows a predictable curve. You get injured, the body sends signals, the tissue begins to heal, the discomfort fades. The brain acknowledges the event, but unless there's lasting damage, let's go, emotional pain doesn't follow the same arc, it lingers, it repeats, it resurfaces months, even years later, sometimes with the same intensity as the moment it first struck. And it does this because the human brain does not store emotional pain the same way it stores physical pain. It embeds it into identity, into the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what the world is. In women, this mechanism is even more pronounced. Neurological studies show that the amygdala, which processes emotion, and the hippocampus, which stores memories, have a more direct and active connection. That means emotionally charged events are recorded with exceptional clarity. When someone dismisses her, betrays her trust, or leaves her feeling invisible, it's not simply stored as a memory of what happened. It's stored as a signal about what such an experience means. And meaning has a much longer half-life than pain itself. From an evolutionary standpoint, this is not a flaw, it is a form of protection. Long before the safety nets of modern life, remembering emotional harm was essential to survival. If a member of the group was unreliable or dangerous, remembering that fact could mean the difference between safety and harm in the future. But here's the complication: the modern world is infinitely more complex than the tribal conditions that shaped our minds. In today's relationships, same protective mechanism can turn into an invisible weight. She may walk into a new connection, but her brain still carries a highly detailed archive of every moment she's been emotionally hurt. This is why small triggers can unleash massive emotional reactions. You might say something casually with no malicious intent, but it sounds eerily similar to something that was said in a painful moment years ago. And instantly, she's not only reacting to you, she's reacting to an entire chain of past experiences that her brain has connected to this feeling. To you, it's a small thing. To her, it's an echo of something that still burns in the mind's record. This is not a matter of holding grudges. It's not about weakness or oversensitivity. It's about how memory is biologically and psychologically encoded. And it's about understanding that when trust is broken, it doesn't simply repair itself with time. Physical wounds require rest and care. Emotional wounds require understanding and consistent action. Without that, the wound doesn't just scar, it stays open. This is where many relationships collapse. Someone assumes that because the argument was resolved or enough time has passed, the hurt is gone. But in reality, the emotional system doesn't operate on the clock, it operates on resolution. The real questions in her mind are never just, did you apologize? They're, do you understand how that moment affected me? Do you see the part of me that went quiet after that? Do you know why I built a wall there? If those questions remain unanswered, the pain remains alive. On a deeper level, emotional pain is threatening because it touches the core of identity. Physical pain is an attack on the body. Emotional pain can feel like an attack on the self, on one's worth, on one's belonging, on one's significance in the eyes of another. And once that sense of self is shaken, it takes more than words to rebuild it. It takes evidence. It takes showing up consistently in a way that tells her, the meaning you took from that moment isn't the whole truth. You are safe here. You matter here. Now imagine the inverse. The same brain that can store emotional pain with incredible precision can also store emotional joy with the same power. If one moment of neglect can echo for years, so can one moment of profound presence. One careless remark can be remembered decades later, so can one moment when you stood completely by her side. The brain doesn't discriminate in the intensity of its storage. It records what is emotionally charged for better or worse. So the real question is not whether she will remember, she will. The question is, what do you want her to remember? Will it be the moments you turned away or the moments you leaned in? Will it be the time she felt unseen or the time she felt completely known? Every interaction you have is a potential memory that could live in her mind for decades. You are not just moving through the present, you are leaving imprints that may outlast the relationship itself. And once you grasp this, you stop treating moments of emotional pain as something to get over, and start treating them as critical junctions that shape the story you are writing together. Realize that every choice is building the future in her mind, and in yours. In the end, what she remembers about you will not just be the facts, it will be the meaning. And meaning is not easily forgotten, so make sure you give her something worth remembering.